Okay, so I'm joined by William and Sarah of CrossFit Tava, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Colorado Springs. And so you guys have only been an affiliate for how many months now?
2.5,
Mm-hmm.
barely that. Yeah,
And so you took over an existing gym, correct?
We did.
that's right. So CrossFit Decimate had been a 10-year affiliate here in town. This was their third or I think fourth location.
So,
And the owner moved to Florida, opened up a second CrossFit affiliate there. And you kind of just need boots on the ground to run an affiliate.
Yeah.
So from a couple thousand miles away, just wasn't working long term. And so he looked for buyers for 18 months or so, and got desperate enough to sell it to us.
Yeah.
And so that really took effect in November.
Mm-hmm.
That's our first day operating as Tava was November 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And how long were you guys members there prior to that?
I've been here since 2020, and I've been doing CrossFit for about 10 years, and this affiliate for about 5, almost 5.
Yeah. My husband and I moved here almost 2 years ago and then joined right away. We bought a house 6 minutes away because of this gym. That's like we decided where we wanted to live because this is where we come every day.
Yeah.
And so before we went live, Sarah, you made a comment to Will that tell the story about how this all came together and how you responded to him when he told you we were going to do this interview.
Well, he didn't even really tell us in person. We just got a calendar notification that said hold for Zoom with Dave. Wait, Dave? I was like, we've barely been doing this. Why publicly tell everyone about how new we are at running an affiliate? But here we are.
I think it helps to hear from people who are in similar positions and just
Sure.
to have that level of, oh yeah, they don't know what they're doing either. So it's okay that I feel very under-equipped and under-resourced right now. So yeah.
Where do you guys feel like you don't know where you're doing? Like, what do you guys think? Okay, let me ask this question. What are the learnings and the gaps where you feel like you wish you were a little more prepared for? And then what are the places where you feel like you are completely prepared for and strong?
As a new affiliate, it's weird because we inherited 100 members. So we didn't start from zero.
Yep.
There are pros and cons to that. One of the cons is that we didn't learn along the way. And so we're not making the mistakes of a 10-person, 15, 20-person gym. We're making the mistakes of a 100-person gym. And our liabilities are significantly higher. So we took over with liabilities of, we have to make $20,000 a month to stay open. That's really different than $1,000 a month. So those things, just the fear of it was, I think, a little bit higher. I don't know. That was the one for me. It's just if we're going to do this, we're going to do it. We got to do it all the way. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I think about it too much, I get overwhelmed by what we've stepped into. But the day-to-day running of it feels like a very natural transition for the four of us because we were already embedded in the gym.
Yeah.
Will and I had been coaching. We already knew all of our members. And so the transition there, I don't think wasn't as bumpy as we started to tell people that we were thinking about buying it. They were just like, great, that sounds awesome. So that was encouraging that our community was on board with us and our coaching staff was on board with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're 2 couples that bought a gym together. So my wife and I bring a certain set of skills, experiences. I work in marketing in the tech sector. My wife is a stay-at-home mom now, but has also worked in corporate America for a while. So we bring those skills. And then Sarah and Andrew.
We bring very different skills.
Yeah.
So that's been very helpful.
Across the 4 of us, we have pretty wide coverage across what's necessary. So it's kind of a unique setup.
Do all 4 of you coach?
No, right now, just
not yet.
2 of us.
Yeah. Yes, I'm currently onboarding my husband, which
that must be fun, onboarding your husband.
He showed up to my class yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, can you demo some of these movements?" He's gonna hate that I'm telling this story. He's like, "Oh, I don't know what that one is." I was like, "You showed up to my class and didn't know what we're doing?"
Oh, that's funny. What's do the clients ever give you guys feedback, or do they say, "Hey, man, you guys should be doing this," or you guys are both nodding?
Well, the first thing we did before we even closed on the business was to say, hey, tell us what's working, tell us what's not.
We
Give
sent
us
out
the
a
straight-
survey.
yeah.
We had a big community meeting. And so that was really, really helpful. That's one of the things we've said up front is we want open lines of communication back and forth. And in a really good way, our community has been very vocal with us, both positive and negative.
Yeah.
Because change is hard. I mean, they didn't know it was coming just as much as we didn't know it was coming. And so, yeah, they're along for the ride just as we figure it out.
Yeah.
So.
What are some of the questions you asked on the survey that you sent out?
Mostly like what's working and
Yeah.
across like major areas. So programming is a big one. That was going to change because the owner had been programming himself for 10 years, or at least so far as I knew.
Yeah.
And so that was already going to change. And then facility, coaching, community, what are the things we should focus on first? Can you stack rank and prioritize what's most important to you? What should we do in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? What can wait 6 months? And so we got a lot. I mean, when we took over, we had maybe 90 total members.
Yeah, regular members.
Regular dues, very active members who are on subscriptions. And we got 2/3 of them to fill out the survey.
Yeah.
So we were pretty satisfied with the level of feedback that we got. And it was, a lot of people with the gym when I joined, the community was at 220 and had dwindled down to 90. And so there was a feeling of like, this is not as cool as it once was. But this news coming in of like, great ownership change. There's a new vibrant stuff. And now we're up to I think we got our 150th.
Oh, wow.
So we've grown by, what is that?
That's crazy, actually.
Yeah, pretty huge percent, 50%. And
congrats.
Yeah.
What on the survey you mentioned, like community programming, some of the other things, what did they seem to focus on the most that they cared about, the clients?
Community.
Community.
Yeah.
Just like doing more.
And what's that mean? Let me ask this. What do you think that meant to them? And what does that mean to you guys?
Well, you know this as well as anybody, right? Like community is what you put into it. So if you put nothing into the community, you're going to have a bad experience, no matter how great the community is or isn't.
Yeah.
And so however, it's an easy out for a member to say, it's just not the community I was looking for anymore.
It's hard because I think it's such a vibes thing. It's hard to put words and tangible things on what the community feels like. But we've had a lot of positive feedback that the vibe just feels different in the gym.
Yeah.
So, and that I don't know that we have specifically sat down and thought, how do we make the vibe in the gym better? But I think having ownership in the building every day really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see that with CrossFit gyms, like the leader, the owner, the person in charge. If they're an absentee leader, it really hurts the culture and it really hurts the gym. Like, if you want to make an impact on the group that you oversee, you need to be present.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
That's okay.
Pretty immediate change, and that's not a slight against anybody. If you don't live here, it's hard.
Oh yeah.
And we've gone through 4 in-person managers. It's a tough role to have a full-time person who's not the owner. Some affiliates can pull it off, but I think it's tough financially. We'd had a lot of turnover of coaches in that last year, so it just felt chaotic. And having some stability of, they saw us every day, they knew who we were.
We work out next to them.
Yeah. And we still do.
How many total coaches do you guys have?
14.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
We have a lot of very part-time coaches. So coaches will come in and coach just a Saturday or maybe 2 classes a week. So we love that. Our coaching staff is amazing. Yeah. So, yeah.
It hurts financially because we give them a free membership, but it's been like having that team, like that force, they were able to really go and be vocal champions for us in the community as well. That's been huge.
Yeah.
Colorado Springs has a very large military community. So do you guys see a lot of people coming in and out?
Yes.
Lots of turnover.
Yeah.
One of our great coaches will leave this summer.
I know.
And we know it, and it sucks.
We're not talking about it, though.
Yeah. We're sensitive. But, I grew up that way. If you've been in this town long enough, I mean, it's not as prevalent as it once was here, but it's still like a major force in the town. So
a large percentage of our members, though, are in the military.
Active duty. Yeah.
And family, obviously. Active duty family.
Yeah.
That's our demographic. The part of town that we live in is much more suburban, like exurban. So it's much older. Like our median age is probably in their late 30s. We have very few 20 somethings. It's just more of a lot more families. We have a lot of like working parents. So we run 8 classes a day. Average class size right now is about 12, somewhere in there.
Dang, that's good.
Our 6:30 class is dead, right? Whereas a gym across town, younger population.
Their biggest class.
Yeah. It's wild, the 6 a.m.s and even 5 a.m.s especially in cities that are so popular. That's just early. What advice do you have for someone that might be in your shoes where they're getting ready to purchase another existing gym because that happens all the time. Like your story is not unique to the CrossFit community. There's plenty of gym owners who are getting ready to move on to the next chapter of their life, and they have to they either have to close it down or they turn it over to someone like you guys. Right. So what advice do you give to someone who might be considering doing what you did?
I think this applies to all parts of life, but especially if you're entering this era of yours, is to lead with humility.
Yeah.
To don't assume, one, that you know how to do anything.
Yeah.
And then 2, if you're vocal about that humility and say, hey, guys, we're going to go on this journey together. I just need you to know that I'm going to be figuring this out. We're going to build the plane as we fly it. Like, can you stick with me as we figure this out and give us a lot of grace, because that's bought us a lot of goodwill. It's just telling the truth.
Sure.
Just tell them the truth and they'll stick with you. So we've lost 0 members as part of that transition. Like, it's been, and I think I attribute a lot of that to like that humility that we started with.
And we tried to have a good plan coming in. Like, we sat down, the 4 of us, and came up with mission, visions, value. And I think that helped, that we had a vision that we were headed towards, even if we didn't know exactly how we were going to get there. It meant a lot to the community that we had thought about it, and we weren't just kind of winging it, though we were, but parts that we had really established some intentionality behind.
And we didn't do anything we kind of just went all in immediately.
We did.
So we closed the deal on the 22nd. That was the Friday before Thanksgiving. We closed the day before Thanksgiving, like that evening, all the way through Sunday, and reopened with a totally reimagined gym. We painted we have a 10,000 square foot facility. Like, every wall was painted.
Rearranged. Yeah, it looks really different.
So they showed up on Monday and it felt different. Like, that was huge too. Now we were able to do that because there's 4 of us, solo entrepreneur.
I can't imagine doing this just as an individual. It's a lot.
Yep.
Just sharing the work, but like the mental, emotional burden of it too. Yeah.
Well, same sort of question. What advice do you have for people who are thinking about doing this as a collective, basically, as multiple owners? Because I've seen gyms where that's worked, and I've seen gyms where that hasn't worked.
Yeah. Probably have heard that it rarely works.
More often. Yeah. It's funny. Like, we're not like long-time friends.
No.
Before I brought this up to you guys, I think our families had dinner together one time.
Yeah.
But I just had a sense about you two. Like,
it's a vibe. We just felt like it was gonna work.
Our kids are we're basically, all the 4 of us are within 2 months of age of each other. Our kids are almost exactly all the same age.
Yeah.
So we're in a very similar phase of life. And that really helped. I think a lot of understanding with your oldest kid is how old now? 9. My youngest is 2. So it's right in that phase, that season of life. And so we can give each other a lot of grace. But
lots of communication, I would say.
Yeah.
And understanding that people are going to make mistakes and drop balls and make weird decisions. And so I think it goes back to that humility thing. Like, we're all figuring this out together. None of us have ever done this before. And so we ask lots of questions of each other. We run things by each other. And Will, at the very beginning, was really helpful in saying, we are all doing this together. Everyone has autonomy to make decisions, and we're going to back each other up. And so I think that's given us the freedom to kind of settle into different roles in the gym and take that on fully and kind of thrive in our different giftings.
And it's kind of when you're parents, you don't fight in front of your kids. So, right, we're on the same team. So if we disagree, we'll take it to the group chat. We don't disagree.
So
and it's really been easy thus far. We'll knock out of this as a plastic desk, but we'll knock on some wood. But for the most part, it's been fun enough to offset any of the challenges, I think.
Who do you guys look to externally for guidance, for support, for leadership, for like outside of your members or each other?
Mm-hmm.
It was other gyms within the community, I don't want to say influencers, but some of these other people who run business or coaching stuff, mentorship.
We have a couple from Florida that is running a gym there that has been doing that full time for 7 or 8 years. And so we've asked them a few questions of how do you handle this? Or I'm about to ask them, like, what do you put in your floor cleaner? Because the recommendation we got just seems crazy, stuff like that. So they have been a very quick go-to for help because we really respect their leadership there.
Yeah, I look a lot at like the corporate world, just because that's the world I live in. Like one of the things I was going to say about how we work well together is like Seth Godin has a great quote about strong opinions held loosely. Like, I want you to fight for what you believe in a meeting closely with us. And then if we decide to go a different direction as a collective, we move on. And and so I think that's been helpful. And it's also good that the worst disagreements are about like shirt colors.
That's true.
Which are pretty small potatoes. And we all get that it's not really that important. We move on. Yeah.
Have you guys had a time to establish relationship with the other local gyms or?
That's like one of our goals now that things are kind of up and running is, having reestablishing those.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how there's fewer of those strong relationships, and it's odd. Color Springs, like CrossFit gyms per capita, is less than half of what it is in Denver. Just there's a lot more opportunity here, and I'm a firm believer that the rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not really competing with any of these gyms.
Right.
People will choose the right gym for them, mostly based on proximity, maybe some edge cases like community. I started CrossFit at CrossFit SoCo on the west side of town. Yeah. And I stayed with CrossFit for 5 years there because I love the community, great programming, great people, great coaches. But I moved. And I moved across town. I wasn't going to drive 20 minutes just to go to the gym when there was a gym 5 minutes around the corner. So not yet. I'm pretty close with the general manager of SoCo. He's Garrison, great dude. He was my first real CrossFit coach. And so we still stay in touch. Yeah.
Speaking of programming, what programming do you guys follow or use, or do you program for yourself?
We use Training Think Tank and have loved
Training Think Tank. Okay, cool.
Yeah, big fans and really positive feedback in the community. It's challenging when you use.
Who's behind Training Think Tank now?
Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we kind of were a little bit biased. We have a pretty competitive athlete in the gym who had been following their program for a while. We tried a bunch of different programming styles, and we kind of fell on this one as our favorite, just as coaches. But it's difficult when you outsource programming because we have a robust facility. We have no real limitations on workouts. We can do rope climbs, GHDs, skis, but as a result, we don't do those often in the workout. So we've got to be a little bit more mindful and try to throw those in where it makes sense. And it helps. Like we've been doing CrossFit for 10 years, which we're able to do that with confidence, I think.
Yep. Well, I appreciate the time. Before we go, do you guys have anything else you want to share or any other advice? I really appreciate your humility and how you're approaching this all. It's pretty cool to hear. You guys seem like great people who want to do the right thing for the right reasons, as it's so often said.
I would say if you want to open an affiliate, anybody can. If we can do it, anybody can do it. First of all. But most importantly, you're probably going to clean a heck of a lot more than you thought you would.
That's great.
Right there.
Yes. Yeah. And I think just keeping it about the members, like the athletes, that's why we do this, is seeing them hit PRs and hit small wins in and out of the gym. I think that makes all the hard work and the long hours worth it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you guys are definitely in it for the right reasons. That's for sure. I wish you guys a lot of luck. And again, this is another one of those journeys. I want to check in with me like in 6 months to a year and let me know how it's going. I'd love to follow up on this.
We'll do.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time. And thanks for sharing some of your story here.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.